So we have some fairly interesting news about Blight Survival. Now, Blight Survival is a medieval, story-driven campaign that does have some co-op elements as well. You are a knight through a post-apocalyptic world. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of stealth. There's a lot of takedowns. It's bloody. It's gory. It's basically everything that you've ever wanted within this genre. And it got a lot of attraction, especially when the trailer came out. I mean, if we actually look at the initial trailer, Blight Survival, I think that really blew up. Yeah, we've got almost 1 million views on GameSpot. Every YouTuber under the sun, Asmongold, reacted to it. I mean, I made a couple of videos on the main channel about it. It was very popular. You get the idea. And you can see why, judging by some of the gameplay. There is a lot to love here, especially those takedown animations. They are gorgeous. Okay, it is a zombie game, but a zombie game set within a medieval world and being co-op, now that makes it a little bit more special, something that we haven't really seen before. So then it comes to our attention that Blight give us some interesting news that is as of today. Enquiries Studios, who are the developer behind it, left a letter to our community. First things first, we owe you a huge thank you for your patience and sticking out with us during our quiet spell. We've been hard at work behind the scenes towards something that will positively alter the course of Blight Survival. We're thrilled to announce our partnership with BHVR Interactive for the development of the game. This partnership enables us to fully realize the version that was originally set out and what they wanted to achieve back in the day. It marks an important moment in our journey towards making Blight into the game you all deserve with BHVR's resources and expertise. Now, this is an interesting announcement, and one that on the surface might be quite positive, but when delved into, there are some questions, just like anything. Going into publishing is an interesting scale that you have to look at as a solo developer or a small development studio. I mean, for example, let's look at Manor Lords, a game that has been so incredibly popular and has smashed every competition out the park. And in fact, despite saying it has no competition, I think they were actually right. There is nothing that comes close to Manor Lords in terms of its development to, well, sales ratio. It's a top seller on Steam for a reason. Over 1 million copies on the first day. Slavic Magic, who was the creator of Manor Lords, initially said that they weren't looking for publishing. They weren't looking for anything of the sort because it takes away from the creative process. Not only that, they didn't need the budget behind it. They had a huge Epic Game Store grant. I mean, it means that they didn't have to put it on the Epic Game Store. That wasn't part of the deal. But Epic Games gave them a huge amount of money to develop that game, meaning that they could go full-time in terms of development. And this is what they did. Hooded Horse did eventually come along and started working in partnership, and eventually Manor Lords said, okay, you can come and, help us publish. Just because of the admin that comes behind it and all the other behind-the-scenes stuff. I mean, thousands of press, all that kind of thing, sending out emails, keys. I mean, for example, this thing. Oh, yeah. This thing that Manor Lords sent out wouldn't have happened without Hooded Horse, I suppose, because if you're developing a game, you don't have time to get hundreds of these medieval helmets made, which they sent them out to a lot of press. They're cool. Like, I've just trapped my finger in it. Oh! So, it is a good thing for certain people. The other thing with Hooded Horse and Manor Lords is they didn't really push for anything creatively. They gave advice and they gave help, but when it came to actually deciding when to release it, what they said they wanted to do was release it as soon as possible while still giving the best content that they can, as polished as they physically can, with not all the content in the world, but enough to grab people and keep people playing. So in that factor, publishing did go well. Could that benefit Enquiries Studios when it comes to Blight Survival? Well, I think so. This is a small team, and as far as I'm aware, it is 2 people, maybe. There is not all that much behind it, and they've done a fantastic job so far. Although, there is something to be careful of. You see, this bit of gameplay that we were shown a while ago is gameplay, I'm sure it is, but there is a lot behind it. There is a lot that does seem pre-rendered and a lot that seems very scripted, especially the takedowns and animations, as you'd expect. Not only that, though, this was more of just a showcase of the ideas and the possibilities behind a game like Blight Survival, where it is a slice. And in the game industry, that's basically what you call, well, a portion of the game that is beautifully well crafted, but there is not really any game behind it. There isn't any extra, there's not a huge open world, and this is just a bit of it. This is the only part of the game so far. Now, don't get me wrong, other parts of the game were probably developed, but not in that polished state that we saw in the gameplay. Now, slices are very useful. They show an idea, they show a concept, and they show how polished a game can be by just getting this small portion up to standard. but they can also be somewhat deceiving. In Blight Survival's case, I think it's only a positive because it did get the hype up and it did show an amazing concept. In a trailer like, well, I don't know, the day before, that their initial reveal was confirmed to be just a slice of the game. You know, that beautiful city where you could go and loot shops and there were enemy bandits, that kind of thing, and then the actual game wasn't even close to that standard. Well, that's when showing off these slices can be a little bit misleading. But they've showed that they have the concept and they show that they have the skill to make the game. So it's all about timing, work, and then, you know, funding behind it. So this brings us onto the studio that they've decided to work with. And this is where some of the doubts that I've seen come in, well, with some of their player base. So if we go on to this letter talking about them being picked up, there is some doubts. Sky Mineral Cal says, I'm so happy for you, old man. I know, why does saying Jarl as an English person just sound so icky? I know nothing of the studio that you're partnered with, but I see light in the sky. Okay, well, there are some people that do know of this studio. BHVR, which is Behavior Interactive Video Games, they have reserved opinions on. The developers have zero concept of balancing and love microtransaction cosmetics with their game. I hold my breath and I won't pass judgment until I've experienced everything. Best of luck. And I think that's where some of the doubts come in. There's another one here. I know a lot of people are shitting on you because you partnered up with the Dead by Daylight people. We'll get onto that. But I looked up their record. Games like Far Cry 5, Days Gone, and Fallout 4 are there. As long as you stick to your guns, you'll be fine. And that brings us on to the publishers that they've decided to go with. The one, and probably their biggest one, has already been mentioned. And that, well, that is Dead by Daylight. A very popular game back in the day, and it received, well, every YouTuber under the sun making a video, and for good reason. It was a lot of fun, and its main focus was on fun until it wasn't. Until the main focus came microtransactions. And I think that's what a lot of people are talking about. A game company that has had a lot of issues in the past with its, well, fan loyalty because they've put bits in their titles that were otherwise successful that took away from the core of the game. I mean, Game of Thrones Beyond the Wall, that looks like the most mobile game I've ever seen. But, you know, I hold judgment. Then they've also partnered through games. Through partnerships with entertainment leading brands owners, we transform the worlds to engage audiences. Now, what I think that means is that they have been responsible for a lot of extras that has been added in. Rainbow Six Extraction, not exactly that well received. Call of Duty Vanguard, not very well received. Gears 5, I don't know if that was very well received. Days Gone has since had a really good partnership lately. Halo Master Chief Collection, icky. Far Cry 5, though, still a decent game. But they've worked with a lot of games, and I think it's very obvious that they're experienced publishers. And it just depends how many hands that they have within Hanier Studios, because having a game like Blight Survival Evolved is basically down to the creative vision of it. This is one of the most unique games that I have seen in a long, long time. I mean, look at this. Who comes up with it? It's the most brutal, gory thing ever. And it does have a lot of similarities to a more cinematic game like, I don't know, The Last of Us Part 2 or Days Gone. There's many, many bits of footage of Days Gone running through these awesome bits of terrain, zombies and hordes fighting you and chasing you, all these cool animations. And there's kind of a lot that comes in common here with, well, Blight Survival. I can see why they were picked up by this publisher, and there is a lot of hype behind it. Just like Manor, we've seen a game that is a very small team, but with the right direction and the right admin behind it, could become a million copies sold overnight. And Blight Survival has the opportunity to do that. I think medieval games somehow are becoming more and more mainstream as time goes on. I thought they hit their peak with Bannerlord, but no, it seems like they're still going. And I'm just hope to God that Blight Survival can champion this rather than subtract from it, because there are a lot of risks that come with what they're doing, but it looks like there is more positives. And I really, really hope that that's the line they're going to go down with. The developers are positive about it, and until I see any reason to not be, well, that's all I'm going to be talking about. But we can already see a very similar timeline from Blight Survival to Manor. And I'm not just talking about my personal experiences where, well, both games have performed incredibly on my main channel, but also the Steam track record. They posted a Steam news on March 31st. Oh, this is all the way back in 2023, so I'm assuming it's changed somewhat. But 650,000 wish lists. I think this is when their first trailer actually came out. And actually, there we go. If we go on this top wish list on Steam, what do we have? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th. It is now, because of the release of Manlaws, creeped itself into the top 10 of Steam wish lists, which is incredible. There is a lot of hype behind this, and I think it was kind of smart for Behaviour Interactive to get on board with this. I would suspect it's probably on its way to pass 1 million wish lists to be, well, on that number on Steam. And I do expect this will probably go a similar route to Manlord, so it's definitely one to look out for. And if you do anything today, make sure it's subscribed to this channel for all the latest news and updates on all the best industry news. But I'll see you guys, well, very soon.